Hello and welcome to today's video. We're diving deep into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that has shaped the financial mindset of millions around the world. Written by Robert Kiyosaki, the book contrasts the financial philosophies of two father figures in his life. His real father, whom he calls Poor Dad, and his best friend's father, whom he calls Rich Dad. These two men have completely different views on money, work, and life, and through Kiyosaki's stories, we learn valuable lessons about building wealth. In today's episode, we're going to unpack the main lessons of the book and see how we can apply them in our own lives, even if we're just getting started with understanding money. At the heart of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the idea that financial education is crucial. Kiyosaki argues that our formal education system, while teaching us a lot of useful things, doesn't teach us about money. We are taught math, history, and science, but not how to manage finances, invest, or build wealth. Poor Dad. He believed that getting a good education, getting a stable job, and saving money was the key to success. While he worked hard his whole life, he never truly understood how money worked. He earned a salary, paid bills, and lived within his means, but he was never able to build real wealth. Rich Dad. He understood that financial literacy is more important than just having a traditional education. He didn't depend on a paycheck. Instead, he focused on learning about how money, business, and investments work. He took risks, but he took smart risks because he educated himself on money matters. Example: one of the first lessons Kiyosaki learned from his Rich Dad was about the importance of learning the language of money. Rich Dad taught him about financial statements like the balance sheet, the income statement, and the cash flow statement. He showed Kiyosaki how understanding these tools could help him make better decisions about spending, saving, and investing. Think about it. If you don't understand the basic principles of money, how can you manage it effectively? This is why Kiyosaki stresses the importance of financial education, so that you're not caught by surprise when it comes to handling your finances. This is perhaps the most well-known lesson in the book. Kiyosaki explains that the rich get richer because they understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Poor Dad believed that a house was an asset. After all, it's something you own, right? But Kiyosaki disagrees. According to him, a house is actually a liability because it takes money out of your pocket. You have to pay a mortgage, property taxes, and maintenance costs. Rich Dad, on the other hand, knew that assets are things that put money in your pocket. These are investments that generate income. Rich Dad focused on building a portfolio of assets, things like real estate, stocks, businesses that would continue to generate money for him over time. Example: Kiyosaki shares a story where his Rich Dad taught him about buying rental properties. He explains that when you buy a rental property, it should be an asset because the rental income you earn each month exceeds the cost of owning the property. In other words, the property is putting money in your pocket rather than taking money out. Think about it this way. If you buy a car and have to make monthly payments, pay for insurance, and cover repairs, the car is costing you money every month. It's a liability. On the other hand, if you own a business that generates income, or if you have an investment that pays dividends, those are assets that make you money. Kiyosaki talks a lot about the rat race, the endless cycle of working hard for a paycheck, paying bills, and never really getting ahead financially. This is a trap many people fall into. They work harder to earn more money, but their expenses also rise. They buy bigger houses, nicer cars, and spend more on luxuries, but they're still stuck in debt and never really building wealth. Poor Dad was stuck in the rat race. He thought that getting a good education, getting a stable job, and saving money would give him financial freedom. But in reality, he was just working to pay off debt and bills, and he never got ahead. Rich Dad, however, understood that the rat race is a trap. He didn't rely on a paycheck to survive. Instead, he focused on creating passive income through investments and business ownership. Example: Kiyosaki describes how, at one point in his life, he had to make the choice to either keep working his day job or to take the risk of starting a business. He knew that staying the rat race wouldn't lead to financial freedom, so he chose to take the entrepreneurial route. While this path wasn't easy, it gave him the opportunity to build wealth outside of the traditional job market. The rat race is real, and it's something many people get trapped in without even realizing it. But the good news is that you can break free by changing the way you think about money and focusing on building assets instead of just working for a paycheck. Another major lesson in Rich Dad Poor Dad is the idea of entrepreneurship. Kiyosaki emphasizes that if you want to achieve financial independence, you need to start thinking like an entrepreneur. Poor Dad believed that the key to financial security was having a job with a stable paycheck and working hard to climb the corporate ladder. He believed that you should work for someone else and get a pension at the end of your career. Rich Dad, on the other hand, knew that true wealth comes from owning businesses and investments. He didn't just rely on a salary, he took control of his financial future by starting businesses and making investments that could earn him passive income. Example, Kiyosaki recalls how his rich dad encouraged him to start a small business when he was just a teenager. Although the business didn't make him a millionaire overnight, it taught him crucial lessons about entrepreneurship, marketing, and money management. This lesson is powerful because it shows that you don't need to have a traditional job to be successful. If you have the mindset of an entrepreneur, you can find opportunities and build wealth in ways that a regular job might never allow. One of the key differences between Poor Dad and Rich Dad was their attitude toward risk. Poor Dad was risk-averse. He preferred the security of a steady job and avoided anything that felt uncertain. His mindset was to play it safe. Rich Dad took calculated risks. He understood that to build wealth, you need to take risks, but you don't take risks blindly. You take educated, informed risks after doing your research and planning ahead. Example, Kiyosaki talks about how his rich dad taught him how to invest in real estate. Initially, he was scared to take the leap, but his rich dad explained that if you want to make money, you have to learn how to invest. You don't need to be afraid of risk, but you do need to be smart about it. The point is, to become wealthy, you can't just play it safe. You need to learn how to take calculated risks, whether in business, investments, or other opportunities. Finally, one of the most important themes in the book is mindset. Kiyosaki argues that your mindset is the number one factor that determines your financial success. Poor Dad had a mindset of scarcity. He thought there was never enough money to go around. He focused on saving and budgeting, but was always worried about not having enough. Rich Dad, on the other hand, had a mindset of abundance. He believed that there are always opportunities to make money and that wealth can be created by those who are willing to think differently. Example, Kiyosaki explains how Rich Dad encouraged him to think outside the box. Instead of looking for ways to save money, Rich Dad taught him to look for ways to earn money, such as by creating a business or investing in real estate. Rich Dad Poor Dad teaches us that to build wealth, we must think differently about money. We must understand the importance of financial education, focus on building assets, and break free from the rat race. We must embrace entrepreneurship, be willing to take calculated risks, and develop a mindset of abundance. If you're serious about improving your financial situation, start thinking about money the way Rich Dad did. It's not about how much you earn, but about how much you keep and how you make your money work for you. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope these lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad have inspired you to start thinking differently about money and wealth. Stay tuned for our next episode,